office shortly. But first, Republican nominee for Kentucky Attorney General Todd P Pool is keeping himself in the news lately as he tries to unseat incumbent Democrat Jack Conway. P Pool says Kentucky should get involved in a federal lawsuit to undo the health care reforms passed by Congress last year. He says coal mine unions have pretty much outlived their usefulness, and he says Kentucky should take an aggressive stand toward what he considers overreaching by Washington. P Pool is the Hopkins County attorney. He's a UK law graduate. He hopes you'll vote to make him Kentucky's top prosecutor in November. He faces Democrat Jack Conway. Mr. P Pool joins us. Welcome. Good to see you.
Great to be back, Bill. Thanks for having me.
Well, since your last appearance here, you had your first appearance at Fancy Farm, rolled up your sleeves, made a speech out there, and took some more stands on some issues. Where do you think this race is as we head toward Labor Day?
Well, I'm excited about the momentum that we're gaining across Kentucky. Our message is one that is resonating with Kentucky. Times are tough right now for Kentucky families, and we need to get Kentucky working again. Folks are very concerned about Obamacare. Jack Conway stands on the sideline in that important fight. 26 other states are in that fight, and it's going to cost every Kentucky family $2,100 in higher insurance premiums. So I think that's the most important issue Kentucky faces, and in my first month as Attorney General, Kentucky will report for duty in the fight against Obamacare.
You know, I've been at this a day or two, and it wasn't long ago when candidates for Attorney General would present their qualifications, their abilities as a lawyer. They would talk about what they would do once they were in that office in terms of being efficient and prosecuting crimes and all that, and they didn't get into all these issues. Now that seems to be the way. You're going into a legal office. Some people say an office that ought not be partisan at all, and both you and Mr. Conway take very obvious stands that are political. Have times changed in that regard?
Well, I think it's pretty boring to have two lawyers sit up there and talk about yourself. People don't want to hear that. People want to know how this office is going to affect their lives and what can be done in this office to move Kentucky forward, and that's what we're talking about. The reality is every Kentucky family is going to face at least 20% rate increases for electricity. Now, at a time when they can least afford it, the Attorney General's office is in a position to push back against a hostile federal government that has unleashed 150,000 new regulators across this country since Obama took office, and Jack Conway helped put him there. So I'm going to talk about the issues that affect people's lives. I'm qualified for this office. We don't have to have that discussion. Jack Conway has appointed me over a dozen times to serve as a special prosecutor. I've done that. I've prosecuted elected officials. While he was out running for the U.S. Senate, I was in Kentucky prosecuting crimes.
You've said, and we'll go back to the coal mining issue, you've said recently that coal mine unions have outlived their usefulness. At the same time, you say there should be, as you're pointing out here, less regulation of mining. How do you then make sure that Kentucky coal mines are safe?
Well, I come from a coal-producing county. My dad was a coal miner. My grandfather, my uncles and cousins are all coal miners. I certainly support safety measures in our coal mines, but it's gone too far, Bill. Coal mines today will have 5 or 6 inspectors every single day at that facility. Yesterday, at a coal mine in Kentucky, 4 federal inspectors came by, didn't write any violations, and that unit was down for 3 hours. It cost production time, and that's going to raise the cost of electricity for Kentucky. So it's important. We have enough safety regulations. We have enough safety regs from the state regulators, from the federal regulators. Wages are high. We have one union mine in Kentucky, and every non-union mine is paying at least $3 more per hour.
When it comes to the federal inspectors doing their jobs, whatever it may be, and however forceful they may be in doing it, what role does the state attorney general play in telling them how to do their jobs, or are you talking about just that you would be working to try to defeat President Obama next year?
Well, what you're starting to see, what Obama and the liberals in Washington cannot pass through Congress, they use the back door through these regulatory agencies like the EPA to push an agenda that has not been held accountable by the voters. So the EPA is just out of control right now. Our farmers are feeling that across Kentucky. This fall, they have a whole new host of dust regulations. Well, this fall when those combines hit the bean fields and the corn fields, they're going to kick up dust, and Jack Conway and Barack Obama and the federal regulators will be right there to issue a citation to them. That's not America. That's not Kentucky. That's why I'm in the race, and that's what the Attorney General can do to push back on a hostile federal government.
You've called for Kentucky to join the federal lawsuit that is challenging the health care reform overhaul that was passed in Congress last year at the urging of the President. As you know, your opponent has said, and said on this program last week, that that whether or not Kentucky is involved in that lawsuit, the ruling will be whatever it is, and that it would then be binding on all of the states, and that he doesn't want to spend state resources joining that lawsuit when he says it can be spent on other things.
Yeah, well, Jack Conway wants other people to do his job, and that's not Kentucky. We're not satisfied to let other people do the work that the Attorney General should be doing. He said it's irrelevant at Fancy Farm. Well, when I'm Attorney General, the Constitution will be relevant. 26 Attorneys General around the country find this to be relevant. Kentucky wants to report for duty, and in my first month as Attorney General, Kentucky will report for duty in the fight against Obamacare. Jack Conway and Barack Obama want us to have a Western European style of health care delivery. It will not work in this country. It will kill jobs. It will raise taxes. And it's unconstitutional.
What would that require the Attorney General to enlist Kentucky in that lawsuit?
It will just require the basic pleading practice. We sign on with what's already there. There's strength in numbers. This is not going to take a lot of time and resources. The return on our investment for the time it will take to join this lawsuit is well worth it. And I look forward to taking that issue up in my first month.
As you can see, I'm going around some of the issues that have been contentious in this campaign. There's been a talk this year about people feeling pressured to give money. Both parties have made those accusations in virtually every race. As you know, Spencerian college officials have criticized Attorney General Conway's probe of for-profit colleges, and apparently have urged some there to give to your campaign. Did you solicit their support?
Well, I need to be financed to get my message out across Kentucky. I'm a real prosecutor, Bill. I'll be the first prosecutor to occupy the office of Attorney General in over 2 decades. Jack Conway has demonstrated poor judgment time and time again. He's been absent from the office, and he announces an investigation. Now, just by virtue of getting in front of a TV camera and announcing an investigation, you might be hurting innocent people. You need to get the facts and evidence before you start making statements to the public as a prosecutor. I know that because I'm in my second term as a local prosecutor. So I think you have to be very careful before you indict people in the court of public opinion the way Jack Conway does just to get in front of a TV camera.
So if there is somebody that he's taken a stand that is not popular with them, then in fact, on occasion, you go to the other side and solicit their support and contribution.
Well, it's obviously we have to raise the finances to get our message out across Kentucky. My message hasn't changed since the day I filed. I'm on the same message that I was day one, and I'll stay on that message all the way to the finish line. And when I'm Attorney General, we will open a public corruption unit, and every legislator, Republican and Democrat, every county judge, Republican or Democrat, will be on notice that the Attorney General of Kentucky has a public corruption unit. And let's start shining the light on government instead of going out in the private sector and trying to indict people for political purposes. Let's shine the light of truth on government.
What would that public corruption unit do?
Well, I think we would review every public service contract that's issued by the state. Anyone who issues a no-bid contract in the state should not sleep well at night when I'm in the Attorney General's office, because we've got a lot of money passing through government. I'm not saying folks that do business with the government. I mean, we need folks, we need vendors, but we also need a higher level of transparency, and we need an Attorney General that's not going to be the cover-up man for some of the shenanigans in Frankfurt.
Down to any amount, or are you saying there should be bids on everything, or should a county judge who has needs some shovels all of a sudden could go out and buy $400 worth of equipment?
We are going to have a public corruption unit in the Attorney General's office, so those magistrates that see some of these things taking place with tax dollars can get in touch with us, and we will shine the light of truth not only at the local level but at the state level. I'm a prosecutor, and I look forward to launching that initiative to be a guardian of the taxpayers' dollars.
As you're a candidate and you're out there, do people come forward with stories that the things they believe have been ignored, or that they would like for a prosecutor to look into?
Yes, you hear things all along the campaign trail. I hear those things as a local prosecutor, and it's important that you get the facts and evidence before you make public statements. My opponent is quick to run in front of a TV camera before he has the facts and evidence. The proprietary school issue. Jack Conway sat on that board for his entire first year that oversees colleges. He's missed most of the meetings because he was out traveling the country at cocktail parties with Nancy Pelosi and others, but then he sits down and wants to indict an entire industry that has some success stories. You got to be careful as a prosecutor, and you have to use some discretion.
Do you think there's any merit to his investigation of those four properties?
It's inappropriate for me to even comment as a candidate. I don't know what the facts and evidence are. I know there's been some excellent success stories out of those proprietary schools. So I'm not going to suggest that there's been any criminal activity. Jack Conway's simply trying to get in front of a TV camera. Where's he been the last 3 years while he sat on their oversight?
Do you agree with his move to get involved in scrutinizing the merger of the major hospital merger that's going on?
I do. And you know what? The most important issue in my mind on that merger is the fact that we have a state asset that was built by the taxpayers back in the late 1800s. Louisville Hospital's been with us for many decades. And my campaign was the first to issue the statement and ask the question, who's going to value this asset? My opponent was too busy getting wrapped up in the social issue of tubal ligation when the biggest issue was preserving a state asset. Our campaign was the first one to ask that question. I'm glad it's on the record for the people of Kentucky.
How much stock are the Republican candidates this year putting in the campaign mantra of send a message to President Obama? Elect Republicans because that will send a message out of the state going forth into next year.
Well, President Obama sent a message to us when he looked at a TV camera and said he was going to bankrupt coal-fired power plants. That's the message he sent to Kentucky. And now, thanks to Jack Conway and Barack Obama, electricity rates are going up. He kept his promise to us, and now we have to respond and tell Barack Obama electricity is our competitive advantage in Kentucky. You can't even make a windmill to put out in California unless you have a coal-fired plant to build it with. Coal is our competitive advantage. I believe in clean water, believe in clean air. I want those things. Technology is here to allow us to do this responsibly, but we have to push back, and Kentucky needs to get working again. We need jobs, and we need families to get back to work.
What is on limits and off limits in this campaign in terms of are you involved in the effort by the state Republican Party to question Jack Conway about the situation involving his brother, who's a former Louisville prosecutor? Does that come from the party itself, or is your campaign also raising questions?
Well, the Courier-Journal was the initial the initial entity that asked Jack Conway about the cover-up of his brother's felony drug investigation. The Courier, they're the ones that first raised that issue. Jack has refused to answer questions about that. It's not about a family member who has a drug problem. I've had folks in my family suffer from drug addiction.
He did answer the question here and said that he was not involved, that he gave his brother advice to contact an attorney, and that was that, is what he told us here last week.
Well, back in January, he told Ryan Alessi that his first action was to call a defense lawyer and have a meeting with he and his brother and the defense team. And in the face of a clear conflict, what he didn't do was contact the Louisville Police Department and tell them that their investigation had been compromised. Now, every prosecutor in Kentucky knows that was improper. If you have a compromised investigation, you don't go jump and be a part of the defense team. It was just improper. He refuses to acknowledge that it was a conflict of interest, and it's clear that Matt Conway got a different set of justice than the rest of the people in Jefferson County. How many folks that have been investigated get a 2-day warning before their home is the subject of a search warrant? That doesn't smell right, Bill. That's wrong.
You're bringing in a lot of surrogates for the coming weeks in this campaign, most of that to raise money, but hopefully from your standpoint, enthusiasm as well. You bring in former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, attorney generals from Virginia, Oklahoma, and others. Are national figures going to figure into this race?
Well, I'm excited. I'm humbled by that. These folks have been very successful in their own right, and they're taking an interest in the Kentucky Attorney General's race because they see its importance. It's exciting. I'm humbled to have Governor Mike Huckabee. I'll be a little bit awestruck because I'm such a fan of his show, and I'm happy that these are good conservatives that share Kentucky values and that are coming to help us win this race.
Todd P Pool, candidate for Kentucky Attorney General, a Republican nominee. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me back.
See you along the way. And we're back with Lexington developer Dudley Webb with an update on Centerpoint in just a moment here on WKYT.